again. Welcome to episode 2 of Beyond the Mom. I am solo today. For those that listened to episode 1, I'm glad you loved it. We certainly enjoyed hearing from everyone, specifically just some old friends that knew Britt. I got a kick out of seeing her on screen. She was a natural for sure. Why am I here today? What are we talking about? Well, today is the 19th. Happy Father's Day to all of our super dads out there. Today is also exactly 1 month since I had a surgery on my leg. And I know for anybody that follows me, they know that I went through surgery, and I haven't really shared a ton of detail because it's a pretty insane story. And I think that there's some things that I learned throughout the process that I wanted to share. And hopefully at the very least, somebody out there that's going through a tough time can take something from this and use it. So here is the surgery story. The backstory here is I had been running. I decided to train for a half marathon with a good friend of mine, Deb, if you're out there. And I had actually done 2 half marathons. This was my 4th half marathon in 2 seasons. I did 2 last year. I had done 1 already this year, and this was going to be my second. 2 trail half marathons, a road half marathon. This would be my second road half marathon, and training was going super well. I was running 3 days a week, sometimes 4. I was running anywhere from 5-6 miles to 7 or 8. Saturdays, every other Saturday, I would do a longer run. The Saturdays in between that, I would just cross train. My miles when I started were in the 9s, high 9s after 3-4 miles. And when I was getting to the end of this prep, I was running 7 miles under 7:45, which was my whole goal. And I can go on and on about what I learned about running and trying to increase paces and everything. I loved it. I loved getting up in the morning. My running days, I would go for a run before anybody got up. It'd be pitch dark. And talk about solitude. Anybody out there that's listening that isn't a runner is going, you're crazy. Running is miserable. There's nothing about it that is nearly solitude. But once you get into running, once you become comfortable on your feet, the miles become mindless in a way that allows you to get deep and be creative and get into just a deeper train of thought, tap into your creative muscle. I loved it. So, ran the half marathon. Deb came down. We ran the half marathon, had a hoot, felt pretty good. I had some minor soreness in my hip leading up to it. Day of the marathon, though, felt good. Ran 1:48 and some change, so pretty decent pace. Was super happy about it. And afterwards, I was pretty sore. The days afterwards, I was pretty sore. I didn't run for a week. Did some cross-training stuff, and that following Saturday, Britt, myself, and the 2 boys packed up and flew down to Florida. Gonna go for a long weekend. Flew in Saturday, didn't work out Saturday, didn't work out Sunday, just hung out with the family, and Monday morning woke up, everybody else was sleeping, we were right on the beach, and I just had the urge to go running, and had brought my running shoes, thinking it's been 8 days, 9 days, and so I started warming up, felt soreness in that hip, but nothing crazy, and went out, ran 7 miles. Felt great. I did an out and back down the beach on the pavement, though, not on the sand. And on my way back, about 6 miles in, I had about a mile left, I started getting sore. The last half mile, I got pretty sore. And I was like, well, I'm already almost there, was getting hot, didn't want to stop and walk. So got home, got back to our Airbnb. As soon as I stopped, 5 minutes later, very sore. But it was in the very front of my hip, seemed very muscular. Long story, not so short. I ended up coming back from Florida. Didn't work out the rest of the time we were in Florida. Did some very minor band stuff with my upper body at the pool, literally in a bathing suit while the kids were sleeping. And I started going to PT. I had gone to PT last fall because I had the same issue, so I thought, in my other hip. Well, PT wasn't helping. I went probably 4 or 5 times. She was dry needling me. She was stretching me. I know all the exercises at this point to do, and nothing was helping. And I asked her, I was like, should I go get some imaging done? Like, this doesn't seem like it's getting better after, 2.5, 3 weeks. And she was like, no, you just gotta be patient. It's all good. Well, then I traveled out to San Francisco for work. And I remember calling Britt from the airport and I was crying on the phone. I was in so much pain. So I knew something was wrong. And so when I landed from San Francisco that Friday, I called my PT. I said, please refer me to a physician. I want to go get this checked out. So that next week, that Tuesday is when I went in. I got x-rays done. He said right away, like, you have a stress fracture in the top of your femoral neck. And if you don't know what that is, because I didn't, it is the top of your femur goes into there's a neck, and then it goes into the ball of the joint. I had a fracture right here. So it was very, very top of that neck of the bone. So it wasn't in the actual bone, it was on that top, going straight down. And the funny thing about that is he did a 45-minute exam on me after x-rays were taken by the nurse before he even got in the room. 45 minutes later, he couldn't find anything. Like, it wasn't a labrum, it wasn't really my hip flexor, and he could tell I was in a lot of pain. And I told him I have a really high pain tolerance and this is bad. He turns around, he looks at the screen, looks back at me, he goes, you got a stress fracture. It's right there. And I'm like, Doc, you could have probably looked like 45 minutes ago before you twisted and turned my leg into complete oblivion. And he goes, you walked in here. Like, I never would have ever guessed that you had a stress fracture. Like, what are you, a robot? You're a maniac. I said, well, I told you I had a pretty high pain tolerance. He's like, you've been walking around on a broken leg for a month. You are insane. You're a lunatic. I was like, okay. Anyways, he told me, he said, you're not going to like this. Like, this usually requires surgery. Go into an MRI the next day. Flash forward to where we started. That phone call was when I was supposed to review the results of the MRI to confirm if I needed surgery or not. So I rounded out with that call with him, and he said, bring your family here. Bring them with you. Bring Britt if you need to. You might want to. We need to sit down and talk through this. And I hung up the phone, and I walked inside, and I looked at Britt, and I said, is he going to tell me I have cancer? And she looked at me. She goes, God, I hope not. I wouldn't have even thought of that. I said, he seemed weird on the phone. In fact, when I asked him, because he was so weird, I said, Doc, is surgery going to fix this? And he said, it could. We hope so. We'll see you at 9:30. So my heart, it's like fluttering right now, even going back there, and I haven't talked about this since, but my heart was fluttering. And I stood there in the kitchen, and in that moment, I looked at both of my kids, and I was like, holy shit, if I have cancer, what am I gonna do? What are they gonna do? And I called my mom, and I said, you gotta get up here. Doc won't let me go over this with him on the phone. She's like, what do you mean? She had just left the night before because she was here all day helping the previous 2 days because I had appointments and working and helping Britt out. I said, you got to get up here. I got to go in. Britt's got to go with me. It's serious, Mom. And she goes, okay, let me throw some stuff in a car, and God bless her soul. Get to the doctor's office. Britt and I walk in. It was pretty silent the whole way there. We were trying to make light of it, but we both were we had a lot on our mind. And so we walk in, and Doc makes a couple jokes about how I'm a lunatic and I'm now only walking with one crutch, but thankfully he's at least convinced me to use a crutch. And so he starts going through the results of this MRI, and he's showing us the image, and here's the fracture, and then what we do is we travel down to the fracture. We're trying to see how far it goes, and then he stops, and he looks at me, and he points back to the screen. He said, you see that right there? And I was like, yeah, it's kind of like a weird, like, what is that? It just kind of looked like a white blob in the middle of the bone. He said, it's a tumor. It's a tumor in your bone. And that fracture traveled down to where there was already a discrepancy in the integrity of the bone. And you are one step away from displacing. And you have a tumor in your bone. And I looked at Britt, and she's already crying. And I said, holy shit, Doc. And he said, yep. He said, so I already contacted the surgeon, know him very well from med school. I had him over to my house last night to go over this with him because he needs to sneak you into the end of his schedule today. He didn't have an opening for over 2 weeks, and you cannot keep walking on this. So I had him over at my house last night. We went over this. He's ready for you. He's waiting for you. You need to go to the emergency room, and they're going to sneak you into the end of his schedule. He's going to keep his crew over for you to get in there and get this operated on. Flips to the next screen. And this is Dr. So-and-so, the oncologist. Stops. Do you know what that is? I said, yeah, it's cancer. He goes, well, we're not sure. But I did talk to her this morning. I sent this all over to her. She reviewed it. She does have a considerable amount of confidence that it is benign, specifically because you're generally very healthy. In fact, you're a complete anomaly. And every single one on the medical staff is going to wonder how the hell this happened to you. But we got to be sure. And we have to assume it's cancer until we can prove otherwise. And we're just sitting there like, And Britt's looking, and I'm looking, and she's crying, and I look at her, I'm like, it's gonna be okay. So fast forward, we get back in the car, we came home, we packed a bag, we went right back to the emergency room, and I basically went into surgery a couple hours later. I was in surgery by 3 o'clock that day. So here's the procedure. He said, this is what I'm gonna do. You're gonna go under. I'm gonna hollow out your femur down to your knee. I'm gonna take those cells, that tumor, I'm going to send it to pathology. We're going to have you waiting on the operating table until they can confirm it's not cancerous. If they can confirm it's not cancerous, we can operate. If they confirm it is cancerous, we sew you back up. We don't do anything. Going into surgery, I had no idea what I was going to wake up with. Waking up, I didn't know if I had a new rebuilt femur or if I had cancer in my bones. Mind you, this is still within the same 8 hours of that first phone call. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around this, and Britt is a absolute soldier by my side. And the boys are home with my mom. I went into surgery that night at about 4 o'clock. It was about a 3-hour surgery. And I woke up, and all I remember is I woke up in the the recovery room, and I looked over to my left and I saw my nurse Pam, and I was in such excruciating pain. My entire body was convulsing. My jaw was shattering, and I just started yelling, Pam, 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 please, please, something for the pain, something for the pain. And in that moment, it occurred to me that if it was cancerous, they wouldn't have operated and I wouldn't have been in this pain. So relieved. I'd take any amount of pain to not have that have been cancer. And anyways, through the process, I stayed 1 day in the hospital. I never took one painkiller after that initial dose she gave me, Dilaudid, and I was in a lot of pain. But I fought through that night, and Britt stayed at the hospital with me, and the next day I saw the physical therapist, and I said, get me walking, I want to go home. And she said, all right. So she got me on a walker, and we worked on stairs, and yeah, I got home that Friday at like 1 o'clock. So I was in the hospital for less than 24 hours, came home with a titanium rod down my femur and 2 screws across to stabilize it. And the road to recovery was fairly straightforward. I'll share a couple of the things that really kind of hit me. Purpose, priority. Nothing like hits you like this type of experience to say, wow, if that would have been cancer, am I living the right life? Am I living the way that I'm supposed to? Are my priorities straight? What are my priorities? Do my decisions every day align to them? And mine are really straightforward. It's my faith, it's my family and friends, and then it's my health and fitness, because my health and fitness got me through that. My family and friends were the absolute foundation, as well as my faith. I had a cross in my hand from my mom all the way up until surgery. My fourth is impact. It's the reason why I'm standing here today. It's the reason why I could no longer just sit on this idea of Beyond the Mom and, sharing all this knowledge and passion and enthusiasm I have about living a healthier life and not making it complicated and helping people that reach out to me, and, just like delivering on that ask is so important, and I just couldn't sit on it anymore. Purpose and priority. Number 2, community. Gosh, everybody showed up. Flowers, cards, cupcakes, dinners, the messages, the texts. I mean, that got me through it. Kept me distracted, kept me positive, kept me feeling like I had a crew behind me. You certainly have strength in twofold. It's your body and your mind. And an experience like this proved to me how powerful your mind is. The fortitude, like how we prepare for a curveball like that, like a phone call in the morning. Think about that. If tomorrow I get a phone call like that, how prepared am I? Because it's inevitable, right? Like life's going to happen. Curveballs come. Gosh, fortitude is so important. And we train it by getting uncomfortable. We train it. Same thing with resilience. It builds over time. But it only builds if we do hard things. It only builds when we put ourselves in positions that challenge us. And we can build a resistance that doesn't allow us to quit. We can talk ourselves through it. That mindset got me through. And your body, strengthen your body. Like, it's not like if I didn't work out, or work out so much, this wouldn't have happened to me. In fact, the doctor laughed. He said, you would have completely displaced and and needed a full hip replacement if it weren't for your muscular strength. Your muscles were holding that joint together. And getting out of that hospital within 24 hours, being back in the gym within 4 days, of course with 5-pound dumbbells at the time, it's because I've trained a body of strength to have better options in life. That is why I wake up and train, to have better options in life. And my recovery just amazed anybody around me because they're like, what are you, a robot? No, I'm strong because I put in years of strength training. And that's the point. So I'll summarize it like this. Challenge is inevitable. It's an opportunity to reset on and solidify your priorities. For me, this was a huge dose of gratitude for my friends, my family, my community, and a final nudge to get started, being more vocal about my passions and helping others with Beyond the Mom. And I don't know what this is going to grow into. Certainly just a completely voluntary use of my time right now, but community is everything. And I want to build a community, and I want to help people, and I want to bring people together, because times of struggle are inevitable, but we invest into resilience and mindset and togetherness in our community, get through it. And I hope through this, I can bring that to some of you. So thank you for listening, following, sharing. I hope I can bring a little bit of a positive light, some inspiration, some funnies once in a while. This is a little bit more serious and motivational, but certainly want to keep it funny and light. Keep sharing some workouts, some nutrition tips, some easy ways of being just a little bit better every single day. And with that, this podcast is brought to you by, totally kidding. Like I said, this is no sponsors, completely voluntary. So with that, stay well, stay healthy, stay together. We'll talk to you soon.